that crowdfunding and support it, you can !career in the chat or check the description down below if you're watching this on YouTube. This tournament, the WardiTV Korean Royale, has got a crowdfunding element to allow for future editions of the event to happen. The first season already fully funded, and that's what this first qualifier is for. As in our very first qualifying match of the tournament, we have our red Terran player in the bottom right corner on Grezvan. From Onside Gaming, it's Maru. Taking on the blue Zerg in the top left corner of the map. No longer representing Team NV, actually. Still on the in-game clan, but is recently tweeted mentioning looking for a team. This is going to be our blue Zerg player, DRG. So Maru got a walkover to the round of 16. The only player to have a free win in the round of 16 today as our #1 seed. DRG goes 2-0 against Scarlet to set up on some Zerg versus Terran. And Maru is already going to show us a couple of barracks up at the front, so going to catch a couple of Reapers potentially on the way out. There's not usually anything else this is other than Reapers. Obviously, why would you build barracks over here if you're just going to build Marines and rally them to the other side? That doesn't really make any sense at all, so definitely don't expect this to be kind of a Marine build. Absolutely, this should just be Reapers, Reapers, and more Reapers. Well, I say Reapers, Reapers, and more Reapers. To be fair, usually 3 Reapers is kind of the cutting point nowadays. You just build 3, you get the command center down, put the factory down soon after, and most importantly, especially with these spawns, you get the reactor tech lab on the safe side of the barracks. You go straight towards essentially a bit of a 2-1-1 follow-up. Sometimes we see a 3rd racks added, and it's more of a 3 racks kind of factory starport setup. So that is kind of the comparison that we do sometimes see. So those are possibilities as our first Reaper begins to move out across the map, heading over to the left-hand side. So away we go, heading over to the natural expansion. And we'll see if this first Reaper can get some work done here in these early stages. So Reaper comes all the way across. He's going to start to nibble away at a couple of these drones. Some damage being dealt. And I'm just going to see the Lings obviously will start to take some nips and bobs as well. Reaper turns back around to be able to do some good damage on the sea. I mean, again, Lings taking hits. If it can get in for a drone, that's amazing. But even just killing off Zerglings is nice, especially when you're going to play the additional Reapers. Any Ling that goes down has 1 HP Reaper. Talk about timing. Yeah, any of these Lings going down makes the future Reapers more difficult to hold. We do indeed just see the 3 Reapers. 1 Marine came looking for an Overlord, but it's already in a safe position. And we do see the 2 racks are now just going to go for a couple of Marines before they set up into what I expect to be add-on production sooner rather than later. Triple CC behind it as well, so very economy focused to follow up. And let's see what sort of damage DRG takes, or let's see what sort of damage DRG can deflect from taking here. This is actually good for him, because he's going to have these Reapers trapped, forces them to turn around deeper into the base with the Zerglings. Well, it kind of backfires when you then lose 2 more drones, 3 more drones because of it. And don't tell me the Reapers are going to get out as well. This looked like a great play for DRG. He'd forced the Reapers back in, they were stuck. And instead they find 3 more drones, and they get out with only 1 Reaper going down. It would have actually been better for DRG to just let the Reapers escape initially. That is kind of just the Maru power sometimes. I know those Lings are slow, and I appreciate you wanted to pull them back because you didn't want to necessarily just let the Reapers wail on them, but yeah, the idea for DRG was absolutely fantastic. It's just, yeah, turned out to be quite painful. This is now 6 workers lost. The thing is, this build from Maru is not very committed, right? This is the kind of build as Maru which you can do without really having to build up into too much. You can use the barracks as a follow-up, so you have a good transition. And that's going to make it very scary, because following up from here, if Maru hits any kind of a timing, you can bet he's going to have a very good time. He's building currently a couple of Widow Mines, a single Medevac, and he is just going to finally start up the stim. It is that Reactor Tech Lab combination I mentioned. DRG does not currently have a way to really deny that or anything, as these few Lings come across the map. You know, DRG is always a player who, in this day and age, I'm never quite sure what to fully expect from him. I feel like if he can get into his playstyle, he can look very good, but sometimes if he gets thrown off early, he can look quite weak. And I say this thinking because I remember back in, it must have been Valencia, we were there, and I was watching Maru and DRG practice against each other. I'm like, goodness, DRG, anytime the game went like past 8 minutes and he was like not taking damage early, he would just destroy Maru. And I really meant like he was destroying him. Like he had creep spread all over the map. Maru couldn't get out of his base. Counterattacks were consistent. They were non-stop. DRG was just playing like an absolute king. And he's had some decent results over the past year, but none that would kind of reflect those kind of games in practice. And I think the reality is those games don't always happen all the time, because you don't always kind of take that kind of first 6 or 8 minutes without taking some damage, being thrown off, and your opponent being in the kind of lead of the game. Which always, to me, like I say, kind of puts DRG as a hard player to judge, because sometimes he can be absolutely unstoppable, and sometimes he doesn't look like that, and it just really depends a little bit on how the game gets set up. It's going to be a second Widowmine that gets killed. It's been a good defense here in the natural. We actually did get the kill on that Widowmine too without losing much, so 2 of the 4 mines in this drop already denied, and the medevac now just lingering up the top left-hand corner. Just going to wait for its opportunity to see something going down. Guys, more upsets, by the way, my goodness. This bracket's actually getting kind of wild as some Lynx counterattack, but Percival 2-1 against Beyond. Percival has a qualifying match against Solar, and if Percival won that, that really would be a little bit of an upset for the day. So, yeah, that's something that's going to be going on. Percival can find an upset outside of TvZ. He might qualify on day 1. That really would be shocking as a result, honestly. As Queens here do get the kill, because even though Widowmine is burrowed, there was a Spore Crawler in range, so we could get a few final shots off. Another Widowmine just going behind the Extractor, and is going to retarget a couple of times, finds 2 drones in the end. Overall, this was very, well handled by... very well handled, I would say, by DRG. He really negated a lot of the damage that was being done. He really made sure to just limit what these Widowmines could do. The biggest thing that was used up was a bit of his attention. A shame not to get the medevac kill. But yeah, I mean, remember that the initial 6 workers went down to the Reapers, taking only 2 more drone losses to 4 Widowmines. That's generally pretty decent, as Maru is now playing against an 81 drone Zerg player. He is going to start pushing with his first field stim attack. This group of units shouldn't be able to do much. We'll even morph in a few Banelings just to help slow it down. DRG can afford to trade a little bit badly into this because he's got so many drones. As Maru sets up a 3rd base behind us, we saw the Lings at one point were counterattacking that. We will lose some creep spread here as DRG. We wrap around. Marines lift up, they get out. Maru does everything as you're kind of meant to here initially. It's going to be seen on Marines unload. I'm just going to go for a creep team, and the rest of these Lings continue to wrap around. A couple of the Marines will go down. I'm just going to unload once again in this kind of same position as before. A couple of Banes coming through. I'm just going to force these Marines back. So Maru picking up value, right? I mean, this is where he trades efficiently. This is where he loses very little while trading out with the Zerg. And now suddenly a follow-up push arrives. This time it is again scary for DRG. If he can get set up a little bit longer, his economy is insane. But Maru is only on 52 workers. In fact, Maru is all in right now, guys, because he really just cut worker production. 8 racks, 52 is all he wants. Now, there's a massive counterattack from DRG. That should mean he doesn't have enough to defend this, but he will come to flank. And that could be very important against the spread set of siege tanks. As you do see some Banes getting down this ramp, heading for some of these Marines. There's just no way there's damage enough for all of these Marines to go down, right? He will clean up all of the tanks. Now it's just Marines left over, but like I say, is that something we can really make work as DRG? Does he have enough? He does have a few Banelings still ready to go. They actually do connect nicely on these first few Marines. Maru pulls back, starting to lose the upgrade advantage a little bit, as +1 finishes from DRG as well. Remember that every second that passes by, DRG has tons of economy. And Maru has very little with 48. He's not even mining the 3rd command center right now, so this is fully committed. As, yeah, just Marines, tanks. And honestly, DRG might just be able to give up this base. The thing is, it's an awkward base to lose because it really allows the Terran to then... This base is not easily held. It just allows the Terran into a good position, right? Although it will have some creep spread to kind of help you kind of maybe engage into this position for a little while longer. Marines just continue their way through that hatchery, so Hatch continue to take some damage. Marines will stim ahead and go after some of the Queens. The hatchery still taking damage here. The Spore Crawler now in some trouble as well. Things coming from the other side, going to come through. Marines kind of getting jumped on that little bit. The siege tank there is also in a bit of trouble and is also, oh my goodness, just going to survive. Well, I mean, every little thing counts right now, and that's amazing for Maru to have an extra siege tank on this offense. DRG is still struggling, down 20 army supply, and obviously just 3 bases. Now he can't actually utilize all of the workers which he's made. So one of the advantages that DRG had in potentially holding this off is lost by losing this base. Yeah, he's just trying to find enough to try and swarm on in here, but you can see that Maru's Marines are kind of just standing and fighting. Here come the Lings and Banes from the other side, going to get rid of a couple of tanks. We'll wait a few moments before we continue on. Upgrade's currently even, but Maru is on his way to 2-2. We're going to engage in as the Liberators re-siege. We are going to see a little bit of a lift up. The medevacs will allow these Marines to reposition. And I got a little bit of Marine force over to the left-hand side. That's going to have to be a split as the Ling Bane jumps on them, but DRG's army supply, man, it's only at 30. He lost a lot of his Queens, and he lost a lot of his inject timing while just defending against this, pulling the Queens in. And Maru looks as though he is going to get the job done on the kind of two base all in, right? I mean, this was 3 bases. He was very low on economy on the 3rd base, even more so after the counter attack. The cutting drones deciding to all in. It works out for Maru here. He takes the first game off of that. Just doesn't matter. It's nothing important. So she's pretty much you back to being her old stupid self. Top right, top of game. Our red Terran player. It is Maru from Onside Gaming taking on the bottom left the blue Zerg. It is DRG currently looking for a team. If I had money to give these guys for a team, I would sign them up to World Team League immediately. Trust me on that, guys. Yeah, we'll see if any team's going to come out the woodworks, pick up some of these players. It is kind of WTL season next couple of weeks. Qualifiers starting up, so now is the time for players to get picked up. WTL is one of the main motivators for teams picking up players, you know. You can make a pretty sick team of players right now. Pretty sure you could pick up like Bunny, DRG, and Classic or something. Maybe even Creator. Like, it's a pretty sick team, if I say so myself. Pretty cool. Overlord coming across the map. Hatch, gas, spawning pool, all on the way in here as DRG gets established. The Overlord flying out over the left-hand side. This Overlord of DRG still pushing up the center. And nothing as crazy to talk about this time around as Reaper starts up from Maru. Nothing as crazy to talk about this time around compared to last game because it was obviously double racks Reaper. That obviously is very exciting this time around. It's just a little bit more standardized as our Overlord continues to send its way up to the top. Now guys, got a little special treat for you all as well. Obviously, Twitch subscribers already get replays, but one of the benefits of supporting the cast... I was nearly said the cast Civil War because I just read someone talk about it in chat. One of the benefits of supporting the WardiTV Korean Royale on the crowdfunding is that you get access to the replays. Obviously, that's generally for Season 2 because that's what the funding is for, but we will also provide Season 1 replays as well. We'll actually be doing a little bonus. For anyone that's supporting the WardiTV Korean Royale before the end of this weekend, we will actually provide the replays to you guys for any level. So obviously the replays, like you purchase in the Korean Royale, they open up at like £10 or £20 or something. So basically, if you are pledging and supporting before this weekend is over, you will get access to all of the qualifier replays as a little thank you for basically getting on board and supporting the event early and helping us get some momentum behind it, convincing all of these players to sign up and take part. So you can check that out. So you can, yeah, like I say, if you want to check that out, !Korea in the chat, heading over to the crowdfunding page. Get yourselves some of these replays as Zerg EL just straight up drops the £50 donation on the stream. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for supporting the stream today and our event and just being awesome in general. Thank you so much, Zerg EL. I really appreciate it as I Reaper hopping in. Gonna get turned around, gonna get pushed back, and it's gonna end up jumping out of the base again over to the sides. Love you. I love you guys too. Thank you for helping us make these tournaments possible. Really appreciate it, guys. Hell yeah. Alright, back into more of the action and actually what's going on in this game, because it is double gas from Maru, so it's not going to be the same as last game with triple CC. So, just completely different in so many different ways, right? We play double gas, we play no 3CC, we play ourselves not onto the double racks Reaper initially as well. It's just a lot of differences as we set up in these early stages. Aliens and a Reaper make their way down to the south. Moving up onto the creep spread and just getting themselves past onto the natural. Gonna have some drones lining up. Ooh, those couple of Lings and that Queen just getting in position to save the day. Those drones would have been chased down if those Hellions had access. Good Evo chamber here as well. This Queen's very important because it can deny enough Hellions to potentially stop one-shot potential. There's going to be 3 drones and obviously a bit of lost mining time as you play a run around, but honestly, yeah, I mean, honestly, that was pretty good anyways from Maru, right? I mean, and a really sick defense from DRG, because if it was any worse, he would have lost so much more. So Maru will be happy. DRG will be sweating, wiping a little bit of sweat off his brow, because, again, that was definitely not an easy situation to be in. That was absolutely by no means a guarantee of being something reasonable there. 2 more factories. Oh, Maru gonna play some mech. Gonna play some Hyperflight Rotors. Okay, Maru. I'm into it. Let's freaking do this. Gonna completely switch this up and play a bit of a different game here. Just thank you so much. Mancubus 2, 13 months on the Prime sub. Come on, Wardy, can you give us a good tourney for once? I know, disappointing. I'm only putting on the best qualifier we've ever had in a WardiTV tournament. As a kind of testament to how cool this event should be. We should really be doing more. Like, can you guys believe I haven't called up Nesty and MVP, called them to come out of like that 10-year retirement to come and play in the tournament? At what point do you actually consider Wardy to ever put in any effort? You know, so many questions, guys. So many questions. Yeah, mech on the way, obviously, to get a bit more serious again. Thank you again for the resub. Our Banshee's coming through. They're going to have Hyperflight Rotors. It's going to be a lot of harassment there, but the first initial defense here looks good as the Queens are in position. Maru does go after the higher energy Queen, which means we get rid of the transfusion potential. Now we do get rid of 3 drones as well, so the Banshees take a good bit of damage. But, I mean, you get rid of a Queen and 3 drones, and the Banshees are still alive. That's obviously nice because they're going to have, well, Banshee speed soon, so they're going to be zipping around the map, all sorts of different directions, looking to get extra damage done. The Queens get through, the Banshees continue to be chased away. As the Banshees get pushed up to the top side, a few Lings retreating back down the left. Hydroden's about halfway through, the Baneling speed is coming up as well. We're going to see all of our Banshees still gathering on the front of the 3 bases at the moment. Aliens get by, gonna nab just a little bit of creep spread initially as well. It's just doing well with that to begin with. And just seeing our Banshee going to be popping very shortly. A couple more Cyclones still coming through the Mac field. Continuing out as well. Just going to be seeing the Hellions and Cyclones defending against these few Lings coming back across the map. Obviously, this is going to be Lingbane Hydra. Now, Lingbane Hydra against Mech, not usually ideal. But against Battle Mech, it can sometimes be okay. The reason being is that the Battle Mech's a bit more of a fluid composition, and Lingbane Hydra can be quite fluid in response. And Lingbane Hydra can just be active enough that you then get up to Vipers, you start abducting in Cyclones, and you can do quite well from there. The Hydra's always nice to have as well against the Banshee count, to stop that from ever getting too high. Right now, I think DRG's biggest issue is that, again, he's just droned massively, but he doesn't currently have enough to actually defend this base. Here are a few Banelings, but he will lose the expansion. A few Banelings will not want to chase any further than the creep spread allows. As a little counterattack is not really doing too much either, so Maru defending back at home. The mech play continued to do very well for himself. Obviously, denying the 4th base is a massive win for Maru. Puts him into a great spot. And DRG, again, just kind of happened in the last game too, as you lose that forward base, boom, all of a sudden, you have 85 drones and nowhere to send 20 of them, right? 66 drones is optimal, 3 base saturation. You can get like a little bit more economy off of a few more drones, but you know, but beyond 66, you want a 4th base to really make full use of each and every drone that you're building. So yeah, without the 4th base, you're currently not mining as much as you should be as DRG. That's why Maru's income spikes into his favor. Family run by here, Maru responds to it. SCVs pull away in an instant, and those SCVs will not be grabbed by those Banes. So SCVs do get away for the moment. Banshees, Cyclones, continuing down to the south as the Hellions come through, and a couple of these drones begin to drop. Banshees will come through for some additional damage. Let's see those Hydras when they come through as well. Our Banelings will crash into a lot of these Cyclones. We're going to knock down this hatchery. I mean, at least DRG is taking the 6 o'clock base this time around as well. That's a big help. It's actually a base that we definitely need. A few Lings chasing the Cyclones. Always feels like Lings should be able to do okay against Cyclones, but sometimes they just melt before they can really get the damage out. The Hydras are trying to chase, but they don't even have Hydra speed, which feels like an expense, because now you're going to end up in a position where these Cyclones can likely get some additional lock-ons and get some extra Hydra kills. I'm not sure if it was really worth going all the way across the map there. Well, a few SCVs were surrounding, repairing up these Cyclones. Continuing to defend here for the moment as we have Cyclones back over through to the center, making some progress, and just going to see another base from Maru. The one thing with mech, even with battle mech, is even when you take a good position in the game, you don't just end the game straight away. Very rarely is that possible. You do usually have to just go at it a few times over. Getting to this point where every time these Cyclones lock on, it's dangerous for this base because there's just enough of them to put a lot of damage out very quickly. So it's very hard to keep that base alive when that's the case. There's a couple of Banes whacking in there in the end, and the Hydras are on offense. Maru is up at 98 SCVs, by the way. His economy is absolutely astounding right now. As Hydras push in, these Hellions start to go down. Our Cyclones are being dropped. A couple of siege tanks are, well, going to try and be a big part of this defense. We just can't get through them easily enough. These Hydras, unfortunately, will not make it through here. Our Cyclones locking on, picking off that Overseer. And just another loss for DRG, who does not look like he's getting enough momentum with any of these attacks. Now down in supply, down in workers, down in army. The only thing he has in his favor are upgrades, but they don't matter really a lot of the time against mech. I mean, they do play a role, but usually when you're playing against mech, the mech army is just so powerful anyways that if it's going to overwhelm you, it's likely going to overwhelm you, upgrades or not. So, especially attacking upgrades, not sure that's going to be enough for DRG when he's lacking army supply to suddenly be like, haha, yes, the upgrades will make the difference. The upgrades will make this less army supply beat the mech force. No, probably not a lot of the time as DRG begins to bounce back. The thing is, he's going to get maxed out kind of at the same time as Maru. And when you're maxing out against mech, you want to be maxing out against like 160, 170 supply so you can trade and just force them to kind of rebuild and go again and never let them max. If you're going to max as Maru maxes out, Maru's mech army is going to be at absolutely full strength straight away. And that's something that's going to be extremely difficult to work around or to just do anything against as well. As a group of extra Banes morph into the top left side. Our Hellions coming through, our Banshee getting some shots off also. Again, I mean, at least if you're maxed out as DRG, there is possibilities, and counterattacks, run bys like this are nice. I was gonna say, do we really have what we need to jumpstify kind of a bunch of Banelings hitting the command center though? The command center can replace immediately, and that's quite expensive for you as DRG. I mean, again, 92 drones is nice, but Maru can afford to lose a few SCVs. He replaced the command center instantly. I mean, I guess it steps in the right direction. I'm just worried that when you take a trade like that, the sudden counterattack of Maru could just be game-ending as a follow-up. So, a couple things to watch for, as we do have our command centers all building up at the front. So, getting all of those out, in fact. Again, just CC after CC, the ability to replace bases when they get knocked down, and make sure that your income is just constant. No matter what happens, you're going to be able to instantly rebuild SCVs, instantly relocate a base. Those things, I think, are very important in scenarios like this. As Hellions and Banes sort of crash into each other. DRG getting the Spire, and I love the Vipers. Obviously, Vipers will provide a lot of value to his army that just hasn't been there up until now. The space already a planetary. You might find a siege tank. We jump into the center as well, where we'll find a couple of units. And Banes crashing the Cyclones never feels good. A game that maybe works if you're ahead in the game, you're outmining your opponents. I'm not sure you can really say that that's the case here so far. Those Banes and those Hydras come up this ramp, and just going to be seeing the few Hellions still giving chase to those few Hydralisks as well. Hydras and Banes turn back around. Just going to be seeing these Hellions getting chased out of here. Cyclones being shot on down. A Hellback coming in to deal a little bit of additional damage. Well, having ourselves just additional command centers all finishing up across the front of this base right now. So all of those CCs coming online. Again, gonna see that Overlord speed coming up, plus 3 melee upgrade on the way. Adrenal Glands is coming out. The Greatest Spire also producing at the same time here from Maru. So all of this from DRG. Imagine Maru just bought a Greatest Spire. Like, by the way, it's Broodlord mech. What? It's like, oh my god, this is the sickest thing we've ever seen. Flying Clouds helping against the siege tanks. The Vipers, surprisingly, amount of cast they got off there, considering the fact that there's so many ghosts. Was kind of expecting the Vipers to get sniped, EMP'd, or anything. The fact that the ghosts were just running and didn't drop a single EMP on the Vipers I find surprising. So Maru may be getting caught a bit off guard there, a bit concerned about that fight and how it was setting up. It wasn't the best of fights compared to maybe what it could have been. We do have our Hydra Force moving around as Maru. I see people asking, how many command centers does this man have? Currently 7 orbitals, 1 CC, and 2 planetaries. About to have an extra CC finishing up as well, so up in the 10 plus range. Obviously, again, he's lost a few as well throughout the game. We've lost a planetary. Actually, only lost 1 planetary. I guess he had a cancel. A couple got cancelled in the upper left when they were building as well. Want to count those. Lings flooding into this top side base, and again, DRG's doing what he needs to, trying to find openings, trying to find damage. And he's kind of building up a bank while draining Maru's resources. A few more SCVs. I'm just worried that DRG's army may never be able to take the full-on larger fight that at some point is just going to be necessary, right? At some stage, we just have to be able to say, right, this is the big fight, this is the engagement. I guess that's what the Corruptors and the Broodlords will be for, to potentially allow us to have that happen. I guess we'll see if it's going to work out. Pushing forward, a couple of abducts and medevacs. Didn't actually go down off those abducts. This time we did hit EMPs on the tail end onto those Vipers, so just knocking those down. Hydras and Banelings running through into the center. The few Zerglings will knock down a siege tank already. These few Banes will just continue forward, going for a few of these Ghosties. And just about managed to get out of trouble as well. Tanks continue to siege. The Hydras have to pull back just a bit further up this ramp. We're going to turn into the Hellbats, into the Ghosts. Hydras pushing down this ramp right now. Siege tanks taking some serious damage, but getting some serious shots off as well. This is what you need the Vipers for. Knock down some of those tanks so these engagements in are just that much more realistic. Without those, it becomes so much tougher. As our first Broodlords show up now, first round of Broods here is actually kind of scary because we don't really have cores in play. And yes, Ghosts can be an answer to the Broodlords, but for now, the Broods will actually act as a way to push these tanks back, and they will give DRG a bit of breathing room. I'm not sure Broodlords are going to be the forever answer. And this is where it kind of gets tough against mech because, you know, in an ideal world, a mech army, I think never really loses to the non-mech, to the Zerg army, right? Like, if the mech army just always has the right amount of stuff, I feel like it should always be kind of favored in this later game situation. The Zerg has kind of got the power to perhaps deny them getting there, to perhaps deny the bases from here so they can't rebuild it every time. But in the straight-up fight, it's going to be difficult. As some Banelings crash into this to start, none of them really reaching Ghost, though, and that means the Ghost gets some chances to snipe down Hydras. Again, just value for Maru. Look at resources lost this game. 31k to 21k. Maru has been dominant in terms of the trades, which is not unexpected considering the early game was so good for him as well. A collection of command centers come down. And it's going to be seeing our Hydras, our Broodlords just going to come through. Broods going forward after those few Hellbats. The siege tanks will begin to set up. Maru's army just kind of happy to keep kind of pushing this sort of avenue. I mean, DRG gets towards the base in the upper left, but doesn't really, you know, can't really do much there. He's going to find the gold base active for Maru here as well, and finds all the CCs that are trying to build. Sees this is a chance to turn around on some of the Ghosts. Gets a few of them, but again, the Ghosts getting some snipes off. Fortunately, that Ghost nerf, the range actually, you know, no longer just being if you get the snipe off, it will, you know, go off as long as you have vision. There's actually a range limit on the snipe even once it's been casted now. And that time it actually saved DRG a handful of Hydras and an Overseer or two. So just a few units survived where in the past, you know, 3 months ago they wouldn't have done. And this sort of situation obviously helps DRG a lot, because he needs absolutely everything he can get. Snipes continue to wail away at this Broodlord camp when they get the chance. We are going to launch ourselves onto the gold. That goes down pretty swiftly. It's obviously a step in the right direction as well, but it's going to cost you a base. The thing is, I just don't think DRG's in the, you know, in the game to kind of trade 1-for-1 on bases. He's on a 5-base situation against 6. I mean, if he maybe goes through here and gets rid of the next base along and the next base, maybe we are actually talking as... Yeah, I mean, we don't even get rid of this one, though, because the army's turning back around, and so Maru can defend. It's a shorter map when it comes to defending here on Royal Blood, right? Like, it's a bit more of a compact map, even though it does kind of, you know, allow for longer games. It means that Maru can turn back around and get back into some of these defensive positions as necessary a little bit more frequently, so that definitely helps out a whole bunch as well. Another round of snipes will come out as DRG attempts to push on forward. Hydras, Banelings, Vipers coming through. It's going to see these few Ghosts sniping off anything and everything that they can here. It's going to be seeing GG's. Maru is going to take the 2-0. Qualifies for the WardiTV Korean Royale. Congratulations to him.